This is a new little project we're going to be starting. Basically, the front of all this is going to be getting ripped out and replaced with some limelight hydrangeas, as well as dwarf yopons, and then we'll keep a row of annual flowers in the front here. The glare from the sun makes it a little bit difficult to see. But essentially, all this is going to come out. We're going to excavate out probably another 8 inches deep to get all the black clay native soil out of there, and we're going to replace it with more of a sandy soil. This should be better growing conditions. We'll come back and check this out once we have some of this ripped out. But long story short, all this is going to get out of here today. Considerations we're making are for this water hose, water bib right here. We have to be careful for that. We'll end up relocating that to a little bit more of a convenient space. But yeah, other than that, should be a nice little cleanup here. Not that it looks too bad to begin with. It's a busy Monday morning. We have some spraying going on. Hunter's doing his usual thing. Working through Dallas. We have the last probably week and a half to 2 weeks of our 5th lawn treatment of the year going on. That's going to be targeting prevention of chinch bugs and grubs. We're doing a little bit of fertilization, and we also have a wetting agent in there that will help to hold moisture in the soil as we kind of are entering into our most stressful part of the year on lawns. Monty and Keller are doing a few irrigation calls today. They started with one that the valve wasn't turning on, so we're probably going to end up doing an add-a-zone there. It seems like electrically it's intact, but something's a little bit iffy. We could end up troubleshooting it all day and still really not get to the bottom, so the add-a-zone is probably going to be the most efficient route. And then they're going to go to another client that's having an issue with a valve not turning on. We were there probably 2 months ago, and valves are acting kind of funky, so I'm guessing they're just kind of getting to that age where they're all kind of starting to expire to some degree. Monty did say this one's like under a tree, and it's 1.5 inch main line, so that really complicates it in terms of how much we need to excavate out and clean things up, and then being able to get that in there efficiently, just because we have to clean out more pipe to be able to get that thing squeezed in there. And then Kevin's working on that video that I showed originally, where he's ripping out that front bed space. And yeah, so that's that. I'm headed to Fort Worth to do a quote. Usually we don't go over to Fort Worth too much, but our shop is somewhat close to I-30, and this property is right off of I-30, so it's really not that bad of a drive to get there. And it'll be a nice little size one in terms of all the scope of it. It'll keep us busy for at least probably 8 days or so in August, which is always, at least I've found, somewhat difficult as we've grown our install division. People just don't really want to pull the trigger on outdoor landscaping installs in the dog days of summer, whether it be that it's just hot and they're not thinking about it, or people have planned vacations and already allocated money from their budget towards that. Whatever it may be, it just seems like it always is a little bit of a slowdown towards the end of July, August period, so that'd be good to get under our belts. So I'm going to finish off that quote, hopefully button up some things for those people, and then I still have some more running around to do. So that's the lay of the land for Monday as of now. All right, quote in Fort Worth is wrapped up for now. Client's waffling quite a bit. It's a lot of this material there, what's the cost difference, what if we keep this, what if we don't keep this. It's almost like we need a flow chart just to be able to keep up with it all. There's also some existing patio that has a slate material on it that, in my opinion, looks fine, but they kind of like the idea of brick there, which at the end of the day, brick is, on average, going to look a lot better, at least in my opinion. However, they don't necessarily need it, so I think they're kind of really fighting that of like, well, is it worth spending a pretty penny to put in new brick versus just keep what is there and live with it, when there's really nothing wrong with the slate. I don't really blame them for having that kind of uncertainty there of making that decision, but I don't know, at this point I kind of recommended them link up with a landscape architect that can at least give them some renderings and get a good idea of what everything will look like once it's done, and they can kind of go back and forth with them of, what if we stop this material there? What if we stop grass here? Go back and forth with that, just so that they feel confident about what the finished product will look like. So yeah, that took a little bit longer than expected. However, at least they're in a better position and can hopefully reach out to the landscape architect and get that ball rolling. I was hoping to have that secured by the end of the week, but I don't think it's going to happen at this point. So I'll just have to follow up with them and kind of feed them some numbers as we go here. So we'll see what takes place. At this point, headed out to South Lake to look at a lawn that it's a client of ours. I know they have a decent amount of shade. I haven't been at this property too many times. I know they have some trees around the property, and the builder put in Bermuda grass, so they're fighting with that shade issue. So we'll kind of check it out and see what's going on, and hopefully be able to make some recommendations for the homeowner. I'm guessing it would be something more so of the recommendations are going to be to scale back your expectations of how the grass can perform in the spaces that he wants it to perform, without switching over to zoysia grass. So we'll check that out when we get there and see what we can figure out. All right, we made it out here to Keller. We're checking out a current client that's dealing with some shade issues in the back. I wanted to at least start in the front though. You can see here, pretty good color, pretty good density across here. It's nice and uniform. And then as we move to the back, things get a little bit worse. Even back through here, it looks somewhat okay over the top. And then once you come over here, it's thin. There's no doubt about it. And then as we move around here, this is some sod they put in. I don't know how well is this showing up on the camera. Sod here around these trees. All this is Bermuda grass. So Bermuda grass wants full sun all day. Generally speaking, if you get online and look at what grass type you should plant, that's usually the first thing you see. So it's kind of unfortunate that this grass was planted here to begin with. And then through this section here, from up top, as we come down here to this section out here that gets a little bit more full sun, it changes quite a bit in the vigor of the plant. And I don't know, I would say this is an acceptable grass area here. Over here it's not. My recommendation to the homeowner would be set your expectations very low anytime you're planting grass directly under the drip line of a tree. And if you must have grass in a space, going the route of zoysia grass in a shady space is going to be your best bet, at least in our region. I usually recommend Palisade zoysia simply because the leaf blade is thicker. It can produce a little bit more photosynthesis, and that's going to give us the best bet over the long run. And even then, I would always tell someone, don't expect it to last forever, because at the end of the day, all grass types, at least in our region, are going to want to have full sunlight all day to be as healthy as possible. Once you start throwing in shade, root zone competition, maybe the grass is getting mowed too short by the mowing service. Maybe it's not getting irrigated quite properly. Once you get all the things in the blender, it's always going to be difficult to maintain grass underneath a tree, especially if you're not controlling the keys to every piece of the maintenance chain. In their case too, I think they added in these trees with these big tree wells after the fact. So definitely something I see a lot of. If people get a little tree happy, they love trees, don't we all? However, you start planting trees everywhere, and then all of a sudden you can't grow grass, but you want grass. So it's kind of a catch-22, I guess you could say. So either way, just something else we typically see with this battle in the shade in our region, and setting expectations is key, and making sure no one is expecting miracles, because if someone can grow Bermuda grass underneath a tree, they won't be working for long, that's for sure. So either way, that's that. Let's, I guess, walk around here just so we can see the front and make a comparison. What I usually do when I visit clients is before I took this video, I sent him a video as well. That seems to work well, where I can kind of point things out as I walk around the property. I think people appreciate it, and then too, it's better than having to type something out and then also just trying to get on the same page with them. What about this? What about that? I can point to it, or I can take a screenshot from the video and kind of point it back out. But looking across here, got color there versus this. This is in pretty good shape out here. I'm thinking that this is Celebration Bermuda. I'm not positive, but that's my guess. So they've been a client for a couple of years. I think it's in pretty good shape for a home lawn. So yeah, other than that, everything looks good in the full sun areas. It's more so just the back that's struggling with the partial shade throughout the day. On to the next. Next stop of the day will be a follow-up treatment for a chinch bug issue. A client gave our contact information to their neighbor because the neighbor was struggling with some grass looking poor. I stopped by there last Monday, a week ago today, excuse me, and there ended up being chinch bugs fairly active. So we went ahead and made a insecticide treatment and included a systemic insecticide as well as a contact insecticide. So that systemic should be providing pretty darn good control over the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's always recommended to follow up roughly a week later on chinch bugs with another round of contact insecticide. They hatch pretty prolifically, so if there are any new ones there, we want to kind of nip them at the bud. We'll do a quick check over the property to see what we find when we get there, and then we'll go ahead and treat it. So yeah, that's that. Just another follow-up, and then hopefully those people, they should be moving to more of a recurring treatment schedule. We'll see what happens. With chinch bugs, you really don't know what the damage is or what the extent of the damage is going to be until a couple months later. Their saliva is toxic, so as they feed on the plant, they're also poisoning the plant. And what it looks like today, even if you were to nip their activity in the bud, 2 weeks later, it might look a lot worse, even though there's no more insect activity. So just got to kind of feel it out, and hopefully over the long run, they will stick around for our recurring treatment schedule. But until then, we'll just need to get these chinch bugs in check, and then we'll see what it looks like over the coming months. Okay, so this is the follow-up on the chinch bug damage that I was mentioning. We can kind of see the kind of just dry looking pattern through here. Generally speaking, with chinch bugs, they will produce drought looking symptoms, and you really need to get down into the soil level, to diagnose them. Here it is, July, August period. Drought conditions can also be an issue from improper irrigation coverage, so you kind of have a real crossing of the lines there of what is what, and you have to be able to identify it properly to make the right treatment, and make sure that you don't assume that it's irrigation. It's actually chinch bugs, and the issue keeps spreading. So either way, this is chinch bugs. Kind of creates like a mosaic pattern. I would say there's kind of somewhat healthy grass mixed within there, but it is somewhat easily identifiable, and especially knowing this time of year. And if you get in there and look really well at the soil level, you should be able to find some crawling around. Like I said, I made this treatment last week, so there are none active that I could find, but we'll go ahead and follow up one more time just to be as safe as possible and keep this nipped in the bud for now. And then we'll kind of check back in periodically to see how things are recovering. But for now, that's that. We'll get it treated. All right, so we're back where we started the day. This has been excavated out fairly well. We're gonna end up taking out some more dirt. This hose bib that's right here, we're going to end up kicking this back into this corner, I think. By moving that back, we should be able to get in here with the skid steer, get a little bit more of this soil out, and swapping it out for a better sandier soil, whereas this soil that's the native soil, I mean, it is just hard as a rock, black clay, smectite clay, that's native soil for Dallas area. So we'll get that out and get a better growing medium in there. And on this side, tomorrow we'll end up building a plywood roadway here to minimize traffic and compaction, and we're planning to get all this ripped out tomorrow and start making some considerations for irrigation. So to be continued.